Abolition today.
You just heard the Queen Mother of Benin, Dewolti Desir, followed by Maymuna Yusuf, Already Royal. Peace and welcome to Abolition Today, a weekly syndicated online radio program with a specific focus on modern slavery as it is practiced through the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and by for-profit prisons worldwide. We air live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, and 4 Pacific. Live streams and archived podcasts are available at abolitiontoday.org. Abolition Today is also available on all major podcast platforms and is simulcast on the Black Talk Radio Network. My name is Yusuf Hassan, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Max Parthas. Peace, Max.
Peace, Brother Yusuf. I'm here at the Paul Cuffey Abolitionist Center in South Carolina, as always. Ready to break it down with you.
Okay, let's do it. So it's been a few weeks since our last live broadcast, as Max and I have been away spreading the abolitionist message on other platforms and other areas of the country. If you were able to tune in these last 3 weeks, you had the opportunity to catch rebroadcasts of 3 dynamic episodes. What is slavery? What is genocide? And our conversation with Her Majesty, the Queen Mother of Benin, West Africa, Dewolti Desir, discussing international prison systems and the modern slavery abolition movement from an African-centric global perspective. Well, this week we'll be joined by 2 guests. First, we have the pleasure of welcoming the Honorable Shay Franco Clausen, who is the former San Jose City Council member and currently the West Coast Regional Program Director at Ignite National and the Vice Chair of the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority. She's also one of the lead organizers behind California's bill to end involuntary servitude, that's ACA 3. Later, we'll be joined by Jihad Abdulmumeet, who is the national chairperson for the Jericho movement and sits on the board of the Abolitionist Law Center. Jihad was a former domestic political prisoner who served 23 years of his life in prison for his involvement in the Black Liberation Movement. We'll also have great information coming from our guest tonight. So, as always, we have amazing music, poetry, news, updates on the abolitionist movement, and we'll bring the voices of the ancestors back to life for a new generation in our Bridging the Gap segment. So before we start that, tell us what you think of the open track and, a little bit about your past 3 weeks.
Oh, man. Well, I was loving the opening track, and just a note, the song Already Royal by Maymuna Yusuf was a play on Lord's song, which is royal, called Royal as well. But she kind of reversed it. I love how she did that. And, tied together with an actual queen speaking on this international incident that we're talking about with slavery going global was very powerful opening. I hope everyone really got something out of that. As far as the past 3 weeks, man, it's been a little rough, but it's also been very busy. Like a lot of people in my family having illnesses up to and including surgery and things like that. And I've been down with the flu now for about a week and a half. Still today, I'm kind of doped up. But it started off with a pleasure, me going back to my hometown of Patterson, New Jersey, and participating in the Patterson Poetry Festival as one of the featured artists. That was really nice to be home and share some spoken word with them. I did a classic, What Happened to Hip Hop, of course, and I dropped no poetry on them and blew everybody's mind. That was cool. Also, getting to go with you to Dennis Febo's new office in Jersey City for the Credible Messengers organization that he's formed there in Jersey that is working with the Department of Corrections, with all across New Jersey, with judges, prosecutors, and police to help save the lives of these kids out there, and who, rather than have them go to juvenile detention, he's providing services that will bring them up and out of that circumstance that they're facing prison and in the prison school to prison pipeline in his own way. So we got to be his first guest at the building. That was awesome.
Absolutely, that was a great experience. Shout out to Febo.
Friday, I got to have an online discussion with the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance, and Brother Mark Hughes, who you've heard here on this program before, is a guest. He's running the campaign to remove the exception clauses, because there's two, from the Constitution of Vermont. And we had a fantastic conversation online. Check them out at Racial Justice Alliance, Vermont Racial Justice Alliance, and listen to that. It was very powerful. But, out in Vermont, they're bragging about how they're the first state to abolish slavery in their constitution, but that's the exact opposite of the truth. The truth is they're the first ones to put that cunning-ass, sneaky-ass exception clause into their state constitution, and then they use it. And they didn't just put one exception clause in, they put two of them in there. You know, so you can be incarcerated or you can be enslaved, you can become state property for conviction of a crime, or also not paying your bills and the like, whatever the like means. But it literally says for bills, debts, and the like, So, yeah, that's been my week. What about you, bro?
So I went down to Atlanta for Black Future Weekend. It was hosted by Van Jones and Dream Corps Network. And the goal was speaking about Black future. So what Van said is, we talk a lot about Black history, but we never think about Black future, and how as the world becomes more and more technical, a lot of us are being left behind. And so they want to create spaces to where we can teach technology to Blacks and to what they would say, underprivileged and underrepresented communities. They did mention a lot about criminal justice. It wasn't like the basis of the platform, but it is on the table, that they recognize that there is a problem with it and that something needs to be done. Didn't get a chance to, speak with Van himself, but, I met a lot of interesting people there. There are, many organizations that are involved in, especially.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Hope you're doing good. Hope life's treating you right. Today, what is today? It is a Saturday. It is a Saturday. We're here throwing down. I'm one Frog 9. And I'm encouraging everybody to be an abolitionist, along with being a gamer, being an artist, to be free, to tap into that freedom mind type shit. And we just got finished listening to Abolition Today. That was their latest episode from last Sunday. Check it out. You can check them out right here. I can go ahead and put that link right there for you. There's that. And yeah. That was just kind of the beginning of their show, so be sure to check out the rest of it. It's right there, Abolition Today, and they got another episode coming up tomorrow. What is that episode called? Dear USA, because fuck slavery, that's why. Signed, Florida legislators. This is on October 20th, 2021. State Representative Diane Hart from TOPS, the Ordinary People's Society, Southeastern Region Friends, and Pasquini, Sharpton, Glasgow held a press conference in Florida's capital, announcing the introduction of joint resolutions to amend the state's constitution and introduce anti-slavery legislation. They will be joining the Abolish Slavery National Network as the 9th state to introduce such legislation since 2020. To date, 4 states have abolished constitutional slavery without exception, and 21 additional states are organizing to get similar legislation introduced. Finally, a joint resolution to introduce a new federal amendment to counter the pro-slavery language of the 13th Amendment is gaining bipartisan support in the House and the Senate. We'll discuss that and much more. Oh, and of course, we'll include amazing music and poetry, then culminate the program by bringing the ancestors' words back to life for a new generation of slavery abolitionists. So that's the description of their show. You can check it out tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. And if you're not doing anything, do that. Because these guys kick ass. All right. You can also check out right next to my head, my frog head right here. There is a number you can text, end the exception, all one word, to 52886. So jump on that if you can. And again, if check the chat there, because if petitions ain't your deal, I got a whole bunch of links there that will lead you to all kinds of stuff and organizations to support. I talk about them every week, usually at the beginning and the end of the show. So if you've missed it, hang around. I'll talk about them at the end, or check out one of the previous shows. So it's Saturday. We usually talk about crypto and blockchain, all kinds of goodness there. We're going to get to that in a second. I do want to read some stuff actually from some prisoners on the inside, just some of their reading. I got some tweets as well. This here website, abolitioniststudy.wordpress.com. This is one of the things I'm going to read. Right here. And where's the other one? A photo in prison. I thought that one was pretty interesting. But yeah, after that, like I said, we're topic of the show today is the people's blockchain. So I'm going to go over very loosely what blockchain is and kind of go into what NFTs are as well. And then, I don't know, I just want to talk about how is all this going to be applied in the future, and what is our role as the people in this technology, because I just believe it's our role it's our job to kind of get in and understand how it works so that we don't get railroaded by the folks that do know how it works and who may use it maybe to not our benefit, right? So I'll get into that here in a bit, but I don't know, I wanted to talk about these tweets here. I guess I'll go ahead and move over here to the theater. Oh dear. The theater has cameras on. No cameras today. Here's this though. Let's go over here. Everything looking good there? I think so. Cops don't prevent crime. To prevent crime, you have to improve people's material conditions with investments. Cops pull resources from these investments. We have the highest prison population and the highest police budgets in the world history. Defund the police is the compromise. What's going on, Chrome World? So I thought this one was pretty spot on with their dealio. Someone said, yep, if they did, the lowest crime neighborhoods would have the highest density of police, but everyone knows that's not true. Material prosperity is what predicts low crime rates. Providing for the general welfare is the strongest crime prevention policy. I totally agree. But yeah, so I'm going to go, like I said, I got one more tweet and a little bit more stuff to read on the abolitionist side of things, and then we're going to jump into talking about blockchain. And we're going to cut the show at an hour. I got to go do a thing out in the world. And so we're going to go do that. So, this is going to be a speed round today. We did some speed drawing on some previous streams, and today is just going to be speed streaming. So let's do it. All right. So that was this one. Let's check. So this one's a little bit longer, but they go into the details of, how the prisons actually function. And, so you say you think the problem is people here defund and think complete removal. Well, I think yeah, that's kind of like the conversation, right? And I think I don't honestly I don't have the right structure of rhetoric and words to really address what you're trying to get to, but I understand what you're saying. I think the thing is that, you know, it's like when people say that like we want to abolish the prisons, right? Like that's something you hear a lot, or you abolish the police. And the thing is, we want to abolish it as it is currently, and not allow it to continue as a reformed thing. Reform, I feel like doesn't. Actually, one of the writings coming up here kind of talks about reform, but it's yeah, I don't know. It it's just my understanding is that police the way they are, man, they're not really designed to actually help anybody. I mean, yeah, there's detectives and people who actually like deal with murders and the more heinous shit, but most of the time with the cops, it just seems like they're just there to just kind of like extract. Um, but yeah, this tweet I thought was pretty good. It said prisons are built on the labor of the incarcerated. The already inflated budgets of correctional departments would be exponentially higher if the incarcerated population weren't relied upon to keep the prisons operating. Let's dispel some illusions and talk about prison labor. Prisons are much like small cities or nations. They are imports of raw goods, exports of manufactured products, and a labor force, which is the incarcerated, that keeps the prison going. Food processing, trade work, trash collecting, administrative tasks, etc., are all executed by prisoners. Take the kitchen as an example. It may take as many as 20 people to prepare a meal for a prison or a section of a prison. Of those 20 people, 18 are incarcerated, with one prison guard in a custodial role and one free staff in an advisory role managing the work. Pirate Queen, what is up? Welcome. The guard literally does nothing but watch the prisoners and make sure they don't steal food. The free staff person directs the meal, like a manager of sorts, but does no actual food preparation. All cooking, serving, and cleaning is performed by the 18 incarcerated people. That's right. That's what we got to get to, Pirate Queen. We're going to get to, we're going to the Noir Collective, folks. So if you're in town and you're interested in checking out who we are, what we do, where we're at, we do have some items in a store downtown called the Noir Collective in Asheville. And my partner, she's been putting up, my partner here, Pirate Queen Indigo Cat, she's got some fabrics, some art, some clothes, custom designed by her. And we actually got a couple sales, which has taken a while, but hey, it's better than nothing, right? Moving and grooving, the block in the historic Black Asheville, yep. And this Snore Collective is a new business. It's been around about a little over a year, I think. And yeah, we're gonna be there today, just holding the space down, and they're gonna do kind of like an open house thing later on. So we're going to check that out. We'll be down there. That's why I got to cut this here short. So we're going to try to pack as much information here as we can on the abolitionist side, on the blockchain side. We're just going to shoot it to it. But yeah, back to this here. Take the kitchen as an example. We did that. So 18 incarcerated people. So let's say the guard is making $40 an hour and the free staff is making around $30 an hour. Half of the prisoners work for free. Half of the prisoners work for free. The other half make between 7 cents and 30 cents per hour, depending on position. That's an estimated $71.17 an hour in kitchen in the kitchen staffing, ignoring the benefits. Now imagine everyone in the prison kitchen made their current wage or the California minimum wage, $14, whichever is higher. We now have an estimated $322 an hour to run the prison kitchen if the employees are making minimum wage. This is more than fourfold the actual cost in wages. Now, expand this idea of cost to every operational aspect of a prison. The janitors are prisoners. Electricians, prisoners. Plumbers, prisoners. HVAC, painters, welders, roofers, machine repair, administrative tasks, and paperwork, prisoners. Almost every single task needed to make a prison run is performed by prisoners. Guards do things: turn keys, open closed doors, sign paperwork, yell, scream, shoot guns, pepper spray, watch people. Free staff are essentially low-level managers. In California prisons, it is illegal to organize a union. It is illegal to call for a strike. It is illegal to refuse work. It is illegal to encourage other people to refuse work. Not going to work or not taking a job assignment will result in disciplinary action. If every prisoner refused to work, the Department of Corrections would organizationally collapse. Prisons depend upon the consent of the imprisoned, and they depend upon the willing labor of the imprisoned to continue imprisoning. This year, the budget for the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation is roughly $13.6 billion, amounting to about $146,000 per prisoner per year. If every prisoner in California made minimum wage, it would add about $2.3 billion to the budget. If incarcerated people were replaced with free people, the replacement wages would be significantly higher than $14 an hour. The use of slavery saves California many billions of dollars annually. But that's just the internal functioning of prisons. There are also imports and exports, which are difficult to quantify but warrant mentioning. For example, every single automotive license plate in California is manufactured at Folsom State Prison. Materials in, products out. The clothing worn by prisoners is made in prisons. The furniture used in state facilities, such as the DMV, is manufactured in state prisons. Cleaning supplies for cleaning prisons are made in prison. Caging for prisoner transport vehicles are made in prisons. Dummy cages for unruly prisoners are made in prisons. Yes, prisoners build the cages that hold the prisoners. The long and short of all this should be fairly obvious. The 13th Amendment provides the slavery exception for penal institutions because if it didn't, prisons would cease to exist. Nobody would be willing to pay the full cost for this system. So that's the tweet. I'm going to put the tweet here. What's going on, folks? Put some people on this tweet. Shut up, frogs. Click here, click there. What's going on, Rotom? Welcome. How are you? Can blockchain be structurally different if it is made up of the same inequalities? Well, honestly, that's the question, isn't it? So once again, legal slavery, work for free, capitalism, or every ism. Why don't they have work when they get out? These are great questions, Pirate Queen. Questions that we must answer, that we must seek the answers to. All right, we're going to read this one now. Photo in Prison by Saphir. In the era of social media, outdated technology is still a prisoner's link to the world. Sometimes that means using a payphone in incremental limits. Other times it means posting a stamp on an envelope, then waiting weeks to receive a response. Prisoners exist in the world pre-internet. Likewise, friends of prisoners quickly become acquainted with this archaic world. But I've noticed one aspect of antiquity often neglected by those in the free world, a medium that connects prisoners to freedom in a way words never will. Pictures. Egregor, yo, who is Matthew Hahn? I don't know. That's some person I found talking about stuff. Talking about some Twitter stuff. About daggone abolition, man. Some daggone stuff about abolition over there. There are prison systems that are not pure slavery like America's. They still pay low wages, but they should be government owned and focus on rehabilitation. Yeah. I mean, if we could just get that. I never thought about prisoners not having internet. And some of them do. It's kind of like, underground thing. Every day your phone is bombarded with images, family, friends, beautiful places, memes. You see them so much that you hardly notice them anymore. For many, even pictures of atrocities have lost their power. And I believe that is the reason why people in the free world don't understand how important pictures are for prisoners. Pictures are political. They are freedom captured in pixelized form. The images they convey can transport a prisoner from a lonely prison cell to any part of the world. When I take out my photos, I'm no longer locked in a cage. Instead, I'm at the backyard barbecue with my little sister, or I'm with my comrade protesting against the police. Photos remind me, in the most depressing of conditions, that I'm still human, that I am still loved. Once, when I asked a comrade for photos, the reaction made me feel like I did something wrong. Later, after we had gotten to know each other better, they confided that at the time they were worried I was going to look at them in some objectifying way. That's when I understood that a belief exists. When prisoners ask for photos, it means they have a sexualized intention. And I also understood that free world comrades don't understand the significance of a photo in prison. When someone likes your photo on Instagram, you're not offended, and a profile picture is intended to be examined by the unknown public. When a prisoner asks for a photo, they are simply asking for a glimpse into your world. Imagine how disorienting it is to build a relationship with someone and not be able to conjure an accurate image of that person. Now imagine it being that way with a majority of comrades and friends you have. On top of that, imagine enduring that inside of a prison cell. It's not comfortable. Of course, you should be concerned if a prisoner asks you for some erotic poses. That's an obvious red flag. But if a friend asks for a photo, to believe that it's because of a sexualized intent shows that you've absorbed some of the stereotypical mythology that surrounds incarcerated people. A physical picture is the closest a prisoner gets to Instagram. Getting a friend request is a good thing. If you have a comrade in prison, send them some pictures. It could be a beautiful sunset or a good time out at the park. Maybe it's one at that protest you struggled through, or the cup of coffee on your way to work. Whatever it is a glimpse of freedom. And on those lonely nights when my heart is hurting, I feel like the world is a weight. I look at those photos and they give me hope for a better world. And my thumb taps the picture twice and I give you a like. All right, last thing I'm going to read. No. Mailing letters. You can mail letters. You can definitely mail letters to prisoners. Usually it's got to be on a single sheet of paper or, like it's just got to be very basic. You got to just have, just a stamp and the paper. And actually, I think some places, they won't even let you send photos or postcards. And actually, another thing is the prison system's working on this thing called JPay. And what JPay does is it charges you for every little like thing you do. And they're actually getting it where they're not even going to give prisoners the physical letters. They're just going to scan them and shred them immediately. And if you want the thing, like there's another tweet I was seeing, like if you want the actual physical letter, you have to pay. And basically it's like prisoners get, cornered in this system. And then they got to pay for every little thing. And they're only making like 30 cents a day or an hour. And it's almost just impossible to get through. How are these folks supposed to go through the prison system and come out and have any type of like wealth or some kind of fallback so that they're not forced to find other means to reach what they need to be not in prison? I know my words sucked right there, but yeah, JPay, man. JPay is not good. All right. Last one we're going to read, and then we're going to shift gears. It's my understanding that family... Yes, that's the thing. So that's the other thing, right? So we can't just send money to any prisoner. You have to send it to their family. And then their family has that access to add to their commissary budget and stuff. So, let's see. The currency of credibility. Don't mistake elected and appointed officials as the only politicians. Politicians don't always dress in suits or roll in motorcades. Some dress in flannels and chant the latest revolutionary slogans. Unfortunately, there are many of them lurking in revolutionary movements. It's possible there may be a politician in your abolitionist organization right now. A politician is far removed from the people they claim to represent, self-serving and quick to sell out for power or position. These people can be toxic for radical organizing. Fortunately, it's easy to identify a politician once you know what to look for. Is that something a prisoner can change? So you're saying like who can send them money? Is there like a list of accepted funders? That's a good question. I do have somebody that I could ask actually of that question. But they actually are in Atlanta, so they might just know for that. But they might know some other people to talk to. Let's see. Prisoners can change commissary funders. Commissary funders. All right, but yeah. So that one I'm not sure. I mean, honestly, this thing is just designed to just keep people just wrapped up as tightly as possible. I can imagine there might be some limitations like next to kin or something, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Reformists are politicians. Reform is a compromise without a demand. It says something is better than nothing, or we'll take what we can get. The 13th Amendment reformed slavery and made incarceration an institutionalized form of bondage. Reform may alter an oppressive structure. It cannot, however, change its function. Thus, reform is a political tactic used to portray progress, but really things stay the same. It is pacification for the masses. So, who does reform really benefit? Those who profit from the system staying the same? Those who profit from the system staying the same, i.e., the politicians. No. My talking frog is messing up my world here. Okay, frog. Informants are politicians. Informants pretend to be with the people, but actually work to further their own interests. And their interests coincide with the interests of the state. These politicians are some of the most dangerous. In the 1800s, Gabriel Prosser's planned rebellion was thwarted by enslaved politicians. Similarly, Denmark Vesey was turned into authorities by politicians and executed for conspiring to free the enslaved. Even the great Marcus Garvey was infiltrated by James Wormley Jones. Malcolm X's bodyguard was an undercover agent for Bureau of Special Services, and Joel Springern, an early leader in the NAACP, doubled as an agent for the Military Intelligence Division of the U.S. Army. There are many examples of informers betraying those who failed to recognize them as government loyalists. And to this day, reformists are still attempting to water down the movement until there is no substance left. What is our protection from these politicians? Street cred is not just a pop culture reference, it is a currency of credibility and credentials. Those who oppose the state must always ask, who do you know? Who knows you? And what are you known for? Whether it is slaves preparing a meeting for escape, a radical group plotting revolution, or gang members holding down the block, all are enemies of the state. That means the approach must be the same for all of them. Someone must always check, recheck, and cross-reference credentials. Many can speak the language of the people, but until it's official, we must always assume that the one pontificating or claiming to, quote, represent is a politician. In the streets, politicking means to converse, and when used in reference to someone who speaks superfluously, politicking is a distraction. People who politic are essentially attempting to avoid the visibility associated with confrontation. Don't confuse eloquent speech with credibility. When you want to know what something is really about, look for three things. Who do they enter with? Who do they leave with? And who do they walk with? A person may be able to hide their intentions, but they can't hide their friends. If one should find themselves among politicians, do not search for blood on their hands. Simply observe who stands with them. Know when you know. Presently, some nonprofit abolitionist organizations have taken up the mantle of liberation without including those in bondage. Such organizations have no credibility. They are simply politicians perverting the struggle to gain false credibility. While many have no significant ties to prisoners, they have appointed the formerly incarcerated to represent the interests of those in bondage. However, many of those former prisoners do not, nor have they ever represented the people. For all intents and purposes, they themselves are politicians. And even if they are official, the formerly incarcerated have a major part to play in the movement. But, damn it! Damn you, frog! I lost my point. Even if they're official, the formerly incarcerated, they cannot take place of those currently imprisoned. Whenever confused about the credibility of an abolitionist organization, start asking questions. What prisoners are you in contact with? Then cross-check those references. Not all prisoners are abolitionists. So it's important to check all credentials. Often politicians will select a random prisoner's voice as justification for their platform. But not every prisoner is representative of the people. Solidarity must be made with imprisoned leadership, those who the people have elevated to be their voice. Politicians disguised as abolitionists are more dangerous to the movement than the apparent enemy. The apparent enemy attacks us from the outside, attempting to penetrate our fortifications. The disguised politician simply destroys us from the inside, or opens up the gates to let the enemy in. Thus, it is essential to verify the credibility of those you're working with. Otherwise, you may find yourself as just another corpse among many victimized constituents. So, yeah, was jumping on. I was actually looking for some stuff to read, and this is one of those things that came up. I didn't really have any particular reason to read this one, but I read it. That was the reason I read it. So yeah, I think that was a pretty good one. It just again shows me I have a lot of work to do, trying to do this abolitionist activism, signal boosting, raising up. I mean, I've written letters before, but I haven't written letters recently, so I don't really have any connections to anybody on the inside at this time. I know there's a group here in Asheville that does meet very often, at least once a month, and they do get together and write letters to folks here nearby, and they keep folks' birthdays and stuff down together and all that. So, yeah, that's a huge part of this. So, currency of credibility. So that was interesting. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back over here. Where's the thing that I was doing? Let me come back to this screen for a second. Let's see what we got here. Sounds like a lot of cynicism. Any systemic progress can be written off as politics under this perspective. I empathize but disagree. I know genuine politicians in Canada, and there can be forced change through politics, as difficult as that may seem. Yeah, I mean, a lot of citizens. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's just really hard to try to like tell people who are under the boot how to organize. And I think what's important is that we just we do what we can, where we can, how we can do it. And do what we can to support those people under the boot, and and just like they're saying, it's important that there is a connection with people on the inside, and like they're saying, not just even any person on the inside. It's got to be somebody that actually has that abolitionist spirit, and is willing to be at that level of consciousness. So if that's their end goal, and we're trying to center people who have that consciousness, who have that perspective, who are in those situations, then it's just kind of like taking their perspective into account as we try to support them, right? And in a way, it just making the assumption that we have the full understanding. I don't know if that's always going to lead us to what we're trying to do. But I struggle, honestly. I really struggle with wrapping my head around the right way, the best way to do things, or what the proper channels of things to do. I mean, I'm doing what I'm doing here, and I'm literally just like throwing myself off the cliff of this project and this activism thing, and just like putting my little piece on the table, and that's all I can do with it. So I mean, I don't know. Let's see what we got here. How does the prison system work in Canada? Is this stream addressing Canadian prisoners as well? The prison system definitely has a racial problem and unfairly incarcerates POC and especially Indigenous people, but not quite as slave wage or slave conditions as America. Many Canadians think our courts are too lenient. Yeah, I mean, you know, we support all prisoners, man. All prisoners and under the abolitionist banner. Putting it plainly. So, but yeah, the focus, because I'm in the U.S., a lot of the focus of news and upcoming stuff that I talk about is definitely focused in the U.S. So, and yeah, I don't really know. I haven't really heard much about how Canada prisons operate, whether or not they're the same or better or worse. I think completely writing off politicians as informers and relying on street cred alone is, yeah. I mean, um, yeah. I mean, again, thanks for for that, and I'm reading that because it's out there as, okay, this is stuff that's been written by people on the inside. Um, so I'm not putting it out there as like, okay, I 100% agree with this, and this is the way everyone needs to be. It's just I'm just here presenting what they're putting out there on that what abolitionist. It came up actually because I was trying to hit abolitionist today. Abolitionist study. Um, but I think the core of the thing. See, I don't think it's just saying a blanket thing like, okay, all. Well, no, they are. It's easy to identify politicians. So a politician is far removed from the people they claim to represent, self-serving and quick to sell out for power. I mean, I'm not going to say that I totally agree with that, but I understand where they're coming from. Where most of the time that ends up happening, where politicians are just kind of in the circle of power, and they're just going to do what they can to kind of maintain that. Um, so given the option between a politician or kind of like grassroots community organizing that's just going to push politicians to do things, like I'm always going to lean more towards the grassroots people organizing who know their streets, who know their own neighborhoods and know the people in their neighborhood, and they're willing to organize that to push for the end, and not just wait for somebody to be a leader and somebody to come up and be like, this is what we should do. I mean, yeah, that's got to happen, but it's got to come up from like a groundswell community thing, instead of it just being like, okay, let's just pick Johnny over here, and Johnny's going to do everything for us, and we're just going to rely on Johnny, right? And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but it just seems like that's where things always fall to. Like, we just got to let the politicians handle it, and that's definitely not the thing. Let's see. What do you guys talk about MLK? Politics is messy, and it's where shit gets done. MLK knew this. MLK was a half measure. He was wrong, and we can see how wrong he was by the fruit of his movement. It's a dope perspective, and I respect it. Love a philosophical or political debate. MLK made more progress than most, and his martyrdom is also the most powerful in modern history. Nope, MLK did nothing. For his community, we still deal with the same issues he's trying to solve. Sounds like talk for those who are not part of MLK's movement. He was just a figurehead, as most leaders are. The movement is people like me, people like us, people like all of us sitting here using our conscious thought energy and putting it towards action, putting it towards just making our own lives bearable so that we can focus on how can we work together on this stuff. But yeah, I don't know. And MLK, fuck. I don't know. I wasn't there. I've just I've just been I've just been taught some bullshit, I feel like, for the most part. And I think I think it's just really it's like if we really just pin everything on one person, right? This just goes back to what I just said, right? MLK was supposed to be this like savior or whatever. People want to make it out like this one person's going to do everything. And I think that just doesn't seem to be how things actually function. Huey was right. Malcolm was right. MLK is a symbol immortalized forever, shares vision. MLK makes white people feel good. Yeah. Yeah, I think in a way, if we look at how white supremacy functions, and how it seeks to just keep itself safe and strong, I feel like, yeah, and in a way, like MLK was the start, right? MLK was like the start of this. Not even the start, right? There's always been people pushing back, but in MLK's time, he's organizing a pushback against white supremacy. But it's like, how can we do that without any teeth to the thing? And I'm not saying we got to go out and kill people. There's a lot of people that would like to kill people. I'm on the do no harm camp personally, but I feel like, yeah, in a way, like there just wasn't enough teeth on it, and it just kind of gave white supremacy a pass because it's like you're trying to hold them accountable, but I don't know. He did make white people feel something as opposed to many who they ignored. Symbols make people feel good. What solutions you got, bro mans? Pirate Queen says, but his actual actions and speeches were impactful for everybody. Black, brown, everybody around the world. I think Booker T had a good idea. Is what the Latinos are doing. If you actually listen to MLK, his words are righteous and impactful. Know yourself first, help yourself, heal from trauma, then ask. Whoa, Streamlabs, where'd you come in here with all these commands? Yeah, guys, heal your trauma, right? We got to heal our trauma in our brains and our souls because it's otherwise we're just gonna replicate the same bullshit. Telling people how to think, how to be, and it just don't seem to work. We us need folks with something to give. Thinking that the trades are the way to go in the world. Yeah. Well, cool. But yeah, that was so that's the abolitionist thing. You guys are welcome to keep on drilling on that. We'll see what you guys come up with. At this point, I was gonna shift the conversation over to my crypto discussion, my blockchain discussion for the people's blockchain. Build community wealth completely. That's what we need. So, okay, we'll just start here. What is the blockchain, right? We're going to start right over at the beginning, at the very beginning. I'm going to do my best to really put this together. So, the blockchain is a electronic digital network protocol. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it a protocol. And what's a protocol? Let's start there. Protocol is a list of it's like a list of commands or a list of actions that are taken by the network or by computers on the network in a certain order, in a certain function, in a certain structure, right? So if we talk about a web page, just a basic web page, when you pull up a web page, there is a network protocol that cranks all the ones and zeros to show you what that web page was designed to show you. Or if we talk about security protocols, right? If you're going into the airport, you got to get the pat down, you got to get the scan, you got to get this and that. That's a protocol. So a blockchain is a protocol that maintains a ledger which is a list of transactions. Usually when we're talking about transactions, this is about like a bank or like a financial institution or something like that that's watching money go in and out. That's part of what's happening on a blockchain, which is again a protocol with a list of transactions on a ledger. But these transactions, they don't actually just have to be exchange of money. It's also just, again, commands or things that the block like program commands. So this is kind of how things function with all that. So let me start over, bring all this together. With this protocol, with a blockchain protocol, you have all of these computers on the same network that are all looking at the same information. It's called a blockchain because all these computers together approve blocks of transactions, and then they keep it in order in the chain. So once the transaction's approved, it's put on the network, it does what it's supposed to do, does its function, whatever that transaction is, and then it's kept on the record, on the ledger, on the blockchain. Now, one of the problems that a lot of people are going to have with blockchain and NFTs right now that they've been having is that there's this power consumption problem with it, which is something that's still being addressed with Ethereum blockchain and other blockchains that don't require as much computationally intensive protocols. Because that's the like Bitcoin, for example, was intentionally designed to be very inefficient. This is because it is constantly checking, the proof of work algorithm that maintains the transactions on the blockchain. So for now, yeah, that's going to be kind of an issue, power consumption and things like that. But fortunately, unfortunately, the technology is going to continue to still develop, right? And because of that, I feel like it's just going to matter of time before blockchain technology and NFTs and all this shit is not really actually going to be as resource hungry as it is now. And honestly, I mean, if we just looked at other internet things or other technologies that use power, I mean, like, we should just stop using the internet. Like, I should stop streaming, right? We should just stop doing all this shit. But I mean, that doesn't work, right? That doesn't work just telling people just stop. What works is making it more efficient. And so that's what's going to take some time to make this more efficient. And hey, if I could help with that, I would. But unfortunately, I'm not so technologically inclined. What I can do is I can roll up my sleeves and just do my own research and jump into this space and just try to hold on as much as I can, because I don't see blockchain technology going anywhere. This is the very beginning. It's very early. All right. And the utility and applications of blockchain technology are just constantly evolving. And every week, every day, it just seems like there's something new that someone is coming up with. So what I feel like we have to keep in mind as users of this, yeah, like Pirate Queen saying, looking at Web3, because Web3 is just about how do we take blockchain technology and add it into just our daily use of the internet. How can it work in that realm in a way that's going to benefit us? So basically, part of me feels like what's going to happen over the next 5-10 years is we're going to see a lot more mainstream companies getting involved with this stuff. And what I feel like we have to keep in mind, again, as the users of this, the people, the common users of this stuff, is that we are setting the standard for how this space should function. So as Walmart or Coke and Pepsi and all those other guys get involved, and they're going to try to get us to, like, basically work on their blockchain, right? We want to have it's basically just going to turn everything centralized again, because the whole point with this is that it's decentralized. No one network, no one computer on the network has any authority over the other. And so the benefit of that is that, everyone is kind of on the same playing field digitally, at least at that level. And, oh man, I need to take better notes, folks, because my notes suck. I don't know. I just want to kind of bring attention again. What is it? And to encourage you guys to learn what you can about all this stuff, because it's going to go beyond NFTs and art. Last week I talked about the financial aspects, the decentralized finance aspects of it. It's going to go beyond all that too. To where, I don't fucking know yet. But I just see a lot of folks are really excited about how our world can really be changed by this stuff. So already saw 2 on the talking about starting schools to teach about NFTs. Yeah, it's a matter of time for that. Government, no like decentralized. Studying my arts and mortality is NFT based. Because the thing is like, yeah, when I'm on Twitter or whatever, or on other social media platforms, and I see people kind of dogpiling on artists or people that promote NFTs, I'm looking for the arguments that are really, gonna actually have some teeth. And at first, when I started looking at NFTs and just seeing like, okay, there's these environmental concerns, I had those concerns, and I still do. But I also see that there's a lot on the horizon that's going to be more efficient and not going to be so power hungry. But lately, as again, see people dogpiling on others who are getting into the space, the argument is really kind of weak. It always just points back to like the environmental cost. But there's no real data that I see behind that. There's just no real strong arguments against this right now. And there's not a diverse array of them either, right? There's just like the environmental cost. And even that one's just kind of weak. So I think as more people get educated about this space, there's like basically, if we look at the whole population, there's just like less than 1% of people understand this, and less than 1% of people are interested in getting the space. So it's all very early, and it's just an opportunity to see this next wave of tech, how it's going to affect. It's going to affect everything, because if you're using it, you're not able to change the transactions that have already gone through. Or if you're doing business with somebody, you don't have to ask them to like see their books or whatever, right? You can just get their wallet address and go and look it up on Etherscan or ETHPlorer or whatever, and you can see every transaction they've ever done. You can have a better idea of what kind of person this is, and if they're even a scammer or whatever. Like, yeah, the space is full of scams, but this is like the Ask Jeeves phase of everything. Just meaning that like, there's no way, not that there's no way, it's just mean that there's just a lot of research that people have to do on their own. And if you're in the space and you're just not sure about, if you're worried about scammers and stuff, like most of them are coming through your private messages. They're using a lot of emojis, and they're using a lot of, these weird links and stuff. And they're telling you about all this ETH and all this crypto you can get. And it's just like trying to sell you on their idea. You just got to block those people, Or if you do decide to work with somebody, I don't know the exact tool. Maybe Chrome knows the tool, but there's specific tools that facilitate transactions. That the middleman is a line of code and a bot or whatever. Not even a bot. It's just you put in your money, and then that person puts in their art. If you're buying art from somebody. So that it's all automated. It's called trustless, right? Chrome World says, I think Solana is going to be a better NFT solution for gaming. For selling games, Pirate Queen asks, NFT or mentality is the way. I buy games, and I'm looking for the best metaverse to hang out in. I see, or you can build your own thing on a block. Build a thing on the block. Yeah, I've heard a lot about Solana. I haven't really nailed down all the details. I think they don't deal with gas the same way. Solana. High performance blockchain. I know they do a lot more transactions than ETH does. Ethereum. Transactions remain less than 1 cent. Yeah, every time I look at Solana, I just kind of get confused because there's no market. I think you have to write your own contracts or get in there on a automated contract writing system. I don't know. But I don't know. Basically, my point, people, is like, if you're in the space and you're really interested in just seeing how it goes, just keep in mind that the power of this decentralized technology is that it is decentralized, right? Has kind of repeated myself there, but that's the point of it. So if we give that decentralized power over to the centralized entities that be, we're kind of just missing the whole thing. So that's just kind of all I had today. I need to take better notes. I need to do stronger shows. I'm not too happy with this show, but if you liked it, hit me up on Twitter. It's something that you had if you enjoyed it today, just let me know. If you hated it, let me know. I don't know. I don't care. If you think I could do better, just tell me. onefrog9@gmail. Hit me up on Twitter. And, obviously I'm not too happy when things don't work out, but, this is a record of my development on this channel. And yeah, maybe one day I can have the right words to say. But hey, that's it. I got to go, folks. Thanks for listening to my crazy ramblings and a frog that didn't even talk. This frog's not even talking. There he goes. I gave it the college try. But as always, guys, do the in the exception 52886, all one word, in the exception. Get on this petition. Get in here with these folks. Write a letter to a prisoner if you can. I need to work on how that's going to go. But there's all these other organizations that are kicking ass and they're taking names. And as always, thanks everybody. Thanks Egregore and Rotom. Anybody else that showed up, Chrome, Pirate Queen. You guys are great. We will hang out soon. Find me on Clubhouse if I ever get on there again. And either way, we will be back very soon. Thursday. I'll try doing the Sundays thing. Sundays just don't work for me. But Thursday morning, Saturday morning seem to work good. What should I talk about next Saturday and Thursday? Let me know. I will work on figuring that out myself. Hit me up, folks. Hit me up.